Sophie's World, Summery. Introduction, Why Philosophy? Welcome. Today we are diving deep into Sophie's World by Jostein Gaarder, a story that is more than just a novel. It is a journey through thousands of years of philosophy, wrapped in mystery, adventure, and teenage curiosity. Philosophy is all about asking questions that don't always have easy answers. What is the meaning of life? Who am I? Why does the universe exist? Gaarder wanted to help young people, just like you, become curious about these big topics, and he did it by making philosophy feel like a real-life adventure. The story starts in a small Norwegian town, with Sophie Amundsen, just 14 years old, going about her normal life. But everything changes when she starts getting strange letters, posing questions that challenge how she sees herself and her world. The adventure catches fire quickly, and, as Sophie starts to look for answers, we get to explore the history of philosophy alongside her. So grab your curiosity. Throughout this video, we will follow Sophie, meet philosophers from ancient Greece to modern times, and see how her story shows us why philosophy is still super important today. Chapter 1, Sophie's ordinary day turns mysterious. Sophie is a regular teenage girl. She has a mother, goes to school, hangs out with friends. She isn't rich or famous, she is just like any other teenager. But one day, returning home from school, her world starts shifting. Checking her mailbox, Sophie finds a plain envelope. No stamp, no return address. Inside is just a card, "Who are you?" This question might sound simple, but it is probably the toughest question anyone can try to answer. Sophie's mind races. She starts wondering, who am I really? Not just my name, but me as a person. A few hours later, a second envelope arrives. This time the question is, where does the world come from? Sophie is baffled. She has never really thought about this before. At home, her mother seems distracted by work, and doesn't take Sophie's questions seriously. Sophie is on her own to find answers. Soon, more letters start arriving. Some have philosophical riddles. Some have facts about philosophers and their ideas. One day, she receives a long message, a mini lesson about philosophy. It begins by describing how philosophy started, how it is different from religion, and why thinking deeply can be hard work. Sophie is hooked. Someone is trying to teach her about philosophy, but she has no idea who. She sets out to solve two mysteries: who is sending the letters, and what do all these big questions mean? Chapter 2, Philosophy begins asking, why? Sophie's letters introduce her to the first philosophers. She learns that, thousands of years ago, in ancient Greece, people started asking why things happen in the world. Before philosophy, most answers came from myths or stories, like gods causing thunder or giants holding up the sky. But philosophers wanted logical explanations. The first ones, called pre-Socratics, were curious about nature's secrets. For example, Thales thought everything came from water. Heraclitus believed everything was always changing, like a river that is never the same twice. Parmenides disagreed, he thought everything stayed the same. Then came Socrates, a true legend. He did not write any books, but he loved asking questions, making people think. Socrates believed people should never stop questioning, even authority, and should always try to find what is true, even if it is uncomfortable. This made him unpopular with powerful people in Athens, and eventually, he was put on trial and sentenced to death. Sophie is fascinated. She realizes just asking questions like, "Who are you?" or "What is the world made of?" means she is doing philosophy. It is not about memorizing facts, but searching for answers. Next, Sophie learns about Plato, Socrates' most famous student. Plato imagined the world as divided into two parts: the world of forms, which is perfect and unchanging, and the everyday world we see, which is just a shadow of that reality. Sophie grapples with these ideas. Can there be two worlds? Is what we see the real thing? Aristotle, Plato's student, took a more scientific view. He believed we should study the world we can touch and see, our senses matter. He categorized animals, plants, and even human behavior. Sophie finds Aristotle easier to understand, but still wonders why philosophers always disagree. Chapter 3: Philosophy, Religion, and the Middle Ages. Sophie's philosophical journey leads to the Middle Ages, when philosophy blended with religion. Her mysterious teacher, Alberto Knox, sends more letters explaining how Christian philosophers tried to mix faith and reason. St. Augustine believed God is at the center of everything, and our thoughts must lead us towards faith. Thomas Aquinas is famous for combining Aristotle's ideas with Christianity. He argued that reason and faith can work together, and that questions about life can be answered through both religion and logical thinking. Sophie wonders, are religious answers different from philosophical ones? Can you use reason to understand God, or are some answers only found through belief? Alberto explains that, during the Middle Ages, few people questioned the Church's teachings. But philosophy kept evolving, asking how the universe works, what makes us human, and whether we are really free. Chapter 4. The Renaissance. Science changes everything. Time moves forward. Sophie learns about the Renaissance, when Europe started to change. People became curious about the world and used science to find answers. Artists studied anatomy, mathematicians explored the stars, and philosophers started trusting observation and experiments. She receives lessons about Descartes, who wanted to doubt everything until he found something certain. His famous line, "I think, therefore I am," means that the one thing he knows for sure is that he is capable of thinking. Spinoza thought that God and nature were the same. Locke, Hume, and Berkeley focused on observation. What we see, touch, and sense is real. Sophie starts noticing how each philosopher tries to find answers in a new way. She realizes science and philosophy are cousins, both hungry for truth but using different tools. During this time, society began to change, too. People questioned old traditions, demanded freedom, and started organizing countries differently. Sophie sees that philosophy is not just old stories, it shaped the world she lives in today. Chapter 5: The Enlightenment and Modern Thinkers. Alberto's lessons cover the Enlightenment, where thinkers like Kant, Rousseau, Voltaire, Marx, Darwin, Freud, and others changed how people thought. Immanuel Kant argued that our minds help shape what we see. Even if we're given truths by our senses, our brains organize them. He showed that understanding the world is about connecting the outside with our thoughts. Kant believed people should use both emotion and reason to make decisions. Jean-Jacques Rousseau stressed freedom and nature. He believed people are born good but society can corrupt them. Voltaire used sharp wit to challenge powerful leaders and defend freedom of thought. Sophie realizes how these thinkers inspired revolutions and new ideas about human rights. Karl Marx looked at society, money, and power. He wondered why some people got rich while others stayed poor, and he believed government and society should help everyone be equal. Sophie connects these ideas to debates in her own life. Is it fair for one person to have more than someone else? Charles Darwin introduced evolution, species changing over time. This was radical, making people rethink the origins of life. Sigmund Freud explored dreams and the mind, suggesting we have unconscious desires that even we don't know about. Alberto explains that philosophy isn't about memorizing names, but understanding how ideas change the world. Sophie sees that each generation asks new questions, and the answers can be surprising, or even uncomfortable. Chapter 6: Sophie's reality starts to shift. As Sophie learns, the lessons become stranger. She meets Alberto in person, realizing he is more than a mysterious teacher. He pushes her not only to think about philosophy but about her own existence. Suddenly, Sophie and Alberto notice odd things, whether that changes instantly, people who seem out of place. Letters arrive in weird ways. Sophie starts asking, am I real, or part of someone else's story? The book reveals a major twist. Another girl, Hilde, is reading Sophie's story as her own birthday gift from her father, who is also Alberto's real creator. Sophie and Alberto's adventures exist inside a book written for Hilde. This shock makes Sophie doubt everything: her world, her friends, her feelings. She asks, if someone wrote my story, do I have free will? Who controls my life? This twist makes readers think deeply, too. Are we the authors of our lives? Or are we living stories written by others, parents, teachers, or even fate? Philosophy isn't just dusty ideas in Sophie's world, it's alive, and it's personal. Chapter 7, Modern Challenges and Existentialism. Alberto and Sophie's lessons shift to modern philosophy, especially existentialism, the study of meaning, freedom, and personal responsibility. Kierkegaard says the most important thing is to make authentic choices. We shouldn't just copy others or follow crowds. Nietzsche encourages living boldly and challenging rules that don't make sense. Sartre argues existence precedes essence, we become ourselves through choices, not the other way around. Camus asks what we should do when life seems meaningless. He believes we should keep searching for meaning, even when answers seem impossible. Sophie and Alberto discuss how people can create their own meaning. Sophie wonders, if my life is someone else's story, how can I make it my own? The answer is, by questioning, reflecting, and being brave enough to choose her own path. Modern philosophy also asks about science, the mind, society, and freedom. Psychoanalysis, democracy, technology, and even art start shaping philosophical ideas. Sophie's world is full of new questions, reflecting how philosophy keeps growing, changing with the times. Chapter 8, Sophie's Growth and Personal Adventure. Through all the mysteries, lessons, and twists, Sophie grows as a person. She's no longer just curious, she's determined, independent, and open-minded. She learns to stand up to her mom, argue with Alberto, and question her teachers. Even her friendships and relationships change. Some friends think she's weird, others admire her courage. Sophie finds that being a philosopher isn't about knowing everything, it's about wanting to know. She becomes confident, even when she doesn't have perfect answers. Her journey shows that philosophy isn't just for old books or classrooms. It can help anyone become smarter, more creative, and more free. Chapter 9, Philosophy for Everyday Life. Sophie's story, and the philosophers she meets, show that philosophy is everywhere. It impacts laws, science, art, and religion. It helps us find meaning in tough times, question unfairness, and understand our dreams. Her adventure inspires teens to be more thoughtful and reflective. She asks questions like, what makes something right or wrong? How should I treat other people? What's my purpose in life? Philosophy isn't about winning arguments, but about staying curious. Sophie's journey is a reminder to keep exploring, keep questioning, and never be afraid to wonder. Chapter 10, Final Lessons and Invitation to Philosophize. As Sophie's world ends, Sophie and Alberto escape their story in creative, playful ways. They decide that even if they aren't real, in the usual sense, their thoughts and actions matter. Sophie learns that freedom isn't about escaping control, but about daring to think for herself, even inside someone else's story. The final message from Sophie and Alberto is clear: life is mysterious, complicated, and sometimes confusing. But philosophy gives us tools to understand ourselves, make better choices, and enjoy the adventure. If you're a teen, starting your own philosophical journey, remember, you don't have to find all the answers, just asking the questions is powerful. Don't be scared to think differently or challenge what you're told. Philosophy makes life more interesting, and helps us become more confident and kind. Jostein Gaarder created Sophie's story for curious people like you. The world needs more philosophers, people who think deeply, act bravely, and help others learn. Interactive segment, questions to ask yourself. To close, let's pause and think with Sophie. Here are some big questions that philosophers love to discuss. What does it mean to be happy? Is there such a thing as a perfect world? Could you be dreaming right now? What makes you you? Your thoughts, your body, or something else? Can you choose your own future, or do others shape it for you? Share your answers, ideas, and questions. Talk with friends or family. Write in a journal. Philosophy isn't a solo adventure, it grows when we discuss, argue, and listen. Conclusion: the spirit of Sophie's world. Sophie's world shows that philosophy is for everyone, even a 14-year-old girl in Norway. Her journey proves you can be a philosopher at any age. You just need curiosity, courage, and a love of questions. In the end, Sophie's story belongs to all of us. We can always open our minds, look for the truth, and think about what makes life meaningful. The adventure never ends, it just grows as we grow. Remember, every great thinker started out by asking why. If you're willing to wonder, challenge yourself, and listen carefully, you're already on your way to becoming a philosopher. Stay curious, and start your own adventure with Sophie.